We have a 3-player game of Portals and Profits set up here. I've given each player 3 Genesis cards to start the game. The New Testament and Old Testament decks are set up here. We have the time capsule starting in Genesis. The fuel tracker is on the low. And the 3 portals are set out in Beersheba, Shiloh, and the Sea of Galilee. I've already placed my pawns. One's on the score tracker, and then the other one, in my case, it was pretty easy to choose since there's 2 in the same spot in Assyria. So I'm up here in Assyria. We've got one guy here in Babylonia, and the other player is in Jerusalem. So, on my turn, I can do 4 things, and my options are to either draw a card, I can move from one location to an adjacent location, or I can play a card to get points. To play a card, I have to be in the correct location and be in the correct time period. So starting off, all the cards are going to be in the correct time period because they're all going to be Genesis, and we're starting in Genesis. But these 2 are in the correct location as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start off, use 2 of my actions to play these 2 cards. So that gives me 8 points for playing Rebecca at the Well in Assyria and the Ark lands on Mount Ararat in Assyria. So I'm white. I'm going to move up 8 points. I have 2 more actions. So I could move down, start heading down toward Hebron to try to play this card. Let me see what some other choices are. I have 19th century card in the Jordan River, Elijah taken to heaven in fiery chariot. This is kind of nice. It's got a couple symbols on it. It's quite a fair amount of points, and it's coming up here pretty soon. It's in the 14th century, and it's a different color than some of the other cards I have in my hand, which is good. You want to have a variety of colors because you get, if you play 1 card in each of the 5 different colored regions, you'll get 10 points. If you play 2 cards in each of the 5 regions, you get 20 points, so on. So that's definitely worth thinking about. We have a 10th century card in Jerusalem. Solomon builds the temple. I think I'll skip that for now. Now these 2 are both fairly close to each other. We have one in Dothan, and there's the other one's in Jezreel. And they're pretty close in time, too. One's in 9th century and one's 11th. So that means once we get down to around here, I'll be able to play both of those pretty conveniently. So I think I'll go ahead and take these 2 for my last 2 actions. Let's do 1, flip this over. That's God parts the Red Sea in Egypt. I think I'll hold off on that and go with my original strategy and take these 2 green cards. So let's see what the other players do. Okay, so the other players didn't end up taking any cards. They just played and moved and played again. So it's back to our turn. I have 4 actions, and I have this one in Hebron. I can start heading down there if I want to. I could actually, first of all, it's a new round, so we're in the 15th century now. You know what? I think what I'm going to do is take this card, because this is going to be next turn, 14th century. I think I'm going to take that card and start heading down to Valley of Ajalon, which is down here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you can go from one portal to any other portal for 1 action. So it's kind of nice that I'm actually stopping right there because now no one else can use it because you can't go on the same space as someone else. All right, we're back to our turn. Looks like green took a bunch of cards and placed them in their hand, and then red came down here to Mount Peor. It must have taken the Mount Peor card and played it. We are right here on the portal. We are going to go down to Valley of Ajalon because we are now in the 14th century. So let's go ahead and do that. 1, 2, play the Valley of Ajalon 14th century. That gives us 5 points. We haven't talked too much about the fuel yet, but this one has 2 fuel cards on it, fuel icons on it, which is nice if you need fuel. Now, the reason you might need fuel is right now the fuel tracker is on low, which means you have to play exactly on the century that the capsule is on. However, if this is raised up to say 1, then I could play a card in the 13th, 14th, or 15th century. It expands it by 1 on each side. 2 would expand it by 2, and then 3 by 3. And when you get it to full, then you can play any card regardless of what time period it's in. But then at the end of your turn, if you got it to full, then it would go back down to low for the next person. So the nice thing about this is I could potentially use this card in the future as fuel, or I could use other cards for fuel and get it up to full, so I could play this even if I'm down in, say, the 7th century. I could still play this 15th century card because the fuel would be on full. And this one has a lot of nice symbols on it. I already have some of these symbols already, so that's good because if you want to have a lot of the same symbol so that you can win that symbol category and get extra bonus points at the end of the game. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one for my last turn. Ooh. It would be nice to have this one. This card, it counts as another one of these ancient symbols right here. I already have 3 of those, and so if I had this in my hand, it would count as a 4th one, and then so that would help me win that category. But then also, it gives me a point at the end of the game for every one of that symbol that I have. But my turn is over, so I can't take that. So let's see what the other players choose to do. All right, it looks like our green player went down to Egypt and discarded this Egypt card because it had the 2 fuel icons on it, so that they could play this other Egypt card with more points on it. So they did that, and then our red player, since the fuel was already boosted from the green player, red could just hop over here and play their Genesis card and get points for that. And then they snatched up that ancient symbol that we were hoping to get. So we start by moving the capsule down 1 century. We're now in the 13th century. Now, as looking at these here, this one's a little bit appealing. The death of Samson, not because Samson dies, but because it's in Gaza, which is fairly close to where we're at. And it's coming up. He's going to be in 2 centuries from now, 11th century. And if we do want to try to get 2 of each color of card, then we do need another purple. So let's go ahead and take this. So this 11th century. Oh, we don't get to play it yet. It goes in our hand. So that's 1 action. 1. So we could start heading down there if we want. You know, I think that might be a good thing. We'll just finish up 2, 3, 4. So hopefully the boost will stay there till next turn and we can just play it. All right, so it looks like green snatched up a few cards that were in the yellow area and then headed up there with using the little teleportation portal. And then red took Ruth meets Boaz in Bethlehem in the 12th century, which that is within range because of the fuel boost, and went down to Bethlehem and played it to get some more points. So we are back, and we need to move down to the 12th century now. Let's go ahead and play our cards since we are there, and it's the 11th century in Gaza, death of Samson. So that gives us 8 points. Now, remember we picked up these green cards here. And those in the 9th and the 11th century. So we're getting kind of close to that time. So we probably should head up there at some point before too long. But I see this here, this Mount Gilboa is right up there in that area where we already are planning on going. And it's right around the same time period. So we definitely should take this card. So that gives us 1. Okay, so it looks like there's a symbol card that came up for the battles, and right now we only have 1 battle symbol that we've played so far, but we do have 3 more in our hand that we hope to play. So, I think we should probably take that one as well. So we only have 1 turn left, because we've done 3 actions. So I think that we probably should start heading up that direction. We could start heading along the coast, which get there fairly quickly, but let's go ahead and go down to Egypt in hopes that we can get to this portal here next turn and then hop on up to the Sea of Galilee. All right, it looks like Green was able to execute their plan and play Shiloh and Shiloh and Gilgal, and then they headed down to Jericho. And then Red played David and Goliath in the Valley of Elah, and then drew some other cards. So let's go ahead and execute our plan that we set in motion last turn and head up 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, this capsule should be down in the 11th century now. So, everything's good so far. We get 5 points for that. So all goes to the Witch of Endor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then next turn, we should be able to play our Mount Gilboa card, and then also this one in Dothan. All right, it's back to our turn, and it looks like, so Green, they were able to play a card in Jerusalem, and then they headed down to Hebron for whatever reason. Now, Red kind of messed us up a little bit. They were over here in Elah. They went over to Jericho, and they discarded a card, which brought the fuel boost up to full so that they could play a card that was in the 15th century. And then so now the fuel boost is back to low, which means our original plan was to play these 2 cards here. But the problem is that now one's in the 11th and one's in the 9th, which we are actually now in the 10th century. So both of these are out of range unless we discard a card. Now, I think I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of this one, because I don't know if we'll ever get back down there or if we'll get to play this one. So we'll go ahead and discard this card so we can get it back up. That one jumps it up 2. And so now that way we can do 1 play, the death of Saul and Jonathan at Mount Gilboa. So that's 3 points. 2, 3, 3, and 4. Elisha's servant sees heaven open in Dothan, and that gives us 4 more points. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is good. We're building up our battle symbol, so hopefully we can win that category, because it doesn't look like other players have any. Well, Red player has 1 battle symbol, but we have way more than other players, so we should win that, plus we'll get extra points for having this card. So the reason green was in Hebron was because they had 2 cards to play in Hebron, and then they drew a few more cards to put in their hand, and then red moved and drew cards. So now it's back to our turn. We are here in Dothan, and let's see. Now, we are kind of low on brown and yellow cards if we're trying to go for our regional set. So, first of all, let's move this down to the 9th. There is this Jordan River card that's in the 9th, and we can get that pretty easily. We can actually play it this turn. So let's go ahead and do that. 1. Now, this is starting to get sort of appealing because there's 2 Babylonia cards that are both in the same century, and there's an Assyria card which is right nearby and pretty close to the same time period as well. So if those are still there next round, I think it might be worth taking it. But for now, let's go. We really could use some more yellow. So let's go down. So we do 1, 2, 3, and let's go ahead and play this for 4. Elijah taken to heaven in fiery chariot. So that's 9th century. So we get 6 points for that. Well, unfortunately, green took those 2 Babylonia cards, so that's no longer an option for us. And then red went on a little bit of a rampage and played 2 event cards last turn, one in Bethel, and then went over here to Joppa and played a card there. So, it is now our turn. It is now the 8th century. Time is marching on. Now, you'll notice that here is a card here. It's a region card, which means that it's sort of like a wild for any color that I'm missing as far as the different regions go. So I have 2 blue, 2 purple, 3 green, definitely good on that. I have 1 yellow, I don't have any brown. And it's getting kind of close to the end of the game. There is a brown right there. I'm not sure if we're going to need that region card or not. Sometimes it's nice to have a little security. Here's a sidecar card for 9 points, which is quite a bit. And it's going to be within range next turn. So, or we could make it this turn because we do have these 2 red fuel cards from this card, which I don't know if we'll really actually have a chance to play this card up in Hazor. So let's go ahead and take this card. And so that's 1. Let's just go ahead and see what this other card is. Deborah judges Israel in the hills of Ephraim. Not interested at the moment. So 1, 2. We're going to discard this card for fuel to jump it up to full, which allows us to play anywhere, anytime. We're going to play it in sidecar in the 5th century. Sabalat plots to hinder Nehemiah. And so that's going to give us 9 points. All right. I think it's there. I don't know. Maybe we can recount at the end of the game, make sure I got my numbers right. So that's great because we do have 1 more turn, but let's go ahead and just take that region card for our final action. And now this is going to be reset to low, so maybe we will have messed up other people's plans a little bit with that move. All right, we're back to our turn. It looks like green did quite a bit of moving. They also took a card that's in Assyria, so I'm guessing they're going to try to play that next turn. Red took a card that was down in Egypt and then headed up to the portal, so I'm guessing they're going to move down to Egypt here pretty soon. Let's see, what do we need? We really do need brown, because even with this region card, we could use one more brown. And here's one in Jerusalem in the 5th century, which is coming up pretty soon. So let's move the capsule down to 7th century since it's a new round. And we'll take that Jerusalem card. Let's see what the next card is. Ophrah in the 12th century, which we are quite close to Ophrah. It's totally the wrong century for us. Let's go ahead and see, the New Testament is actually going to be coming up pretty soon. So we could start drawing New Testament cards and kind of see what we get. So let's go ahead and do that. 1, 2. It's up in the Sea of Galilee, the Sermon on the Mount. We'll do one more. 3 in Jerusalem, which is nice because we're already going to be heading there anyway. And we have one more. Let's go ahead and start heading down there. Hopefully red will get off the portal by next turn. Well, green went on a little bit of a rampage and played a card in Assyria. Jonah preaches in Nineveh, and then they hop down to Babylonia and play 2 more cards. Ezekiel sees a vision and Daniel in the lion's den. So they got quite a few points in that round, and then red was able to take advantage of green's little fuel boost so that they could play their card in Egypt that was in the 6th century. So we are now behind, so we need to catch up. Let's go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, and we can play our 5th century card since we are in the correct time period for that. Keep forgetting to move this down. We're actually in 6th century now. So we can definitely play our 5th century card with that fuel boost, and then that is the end of our turn. So green took some old 15th century cards, so I don't know what they're up to, but they headed down. They're sitting on this portal here. Red was able to play the first New Testament card of the game. Remember, if there is 3 New Testament cards played, then you finish out that round and then the game is over. So, and then they drew some other cards. So we're going to go ahead and move this down to the 5th century now. And we're going to play our first New Testament card, the death of Jesus in Jerusalem. And that is 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now there is this symbol card out here. And we do only have... we don't really have any of the God Speaks symbol cards, so it's probably not really worth us taking. But we could potentially take it to keep someone else from getting it. But I think for now, let's go ahead and just draw another New Testament card. See if we get something a little closer. All right, this was in Caesarea, which is up here. So that's only a few turns away. So let's go ahead and, so we did 1, we played it, then we can do 2, 3, 4. So next turn we'll be able to play this card. Green ended up playing a card in the 15th century by boosting up to full, because it was on 2, went up to full, and then now it's back at low, and we have red, which went up to Joppa and then took that God Speaks symbol card, which is going to be really nice for them because they have quite a few of that symbol. Okay, so let's go ahead and move the time capsule down to New Testament. So we're going to go ahead and play 1, 2. So we get 5 points for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we could just start heading to the Sea of Galilee, and then we guarantee that we would end the game next turn. But I think we can afford to draw one more of these just in case we get one that's closer, and we did. So let's go ahead and end the game. Oh, well, looks like we can't do that because someone is sitting on Joppa right now. So that's unfortunate. Maybe we will draw one more, since now we don't really need to go over to the Sea of Galilee. We can just wait for next turn. Let's go to... The question is, do we want to have our final turn be in the Jordan River or in Joppa? Now this one is worth an extra point, but this one here has a few more, has a miracle symbol, which we probably have a better chance of winning. So we might want to play this card over this one, since this one might help us more. But let's just kind of sit right there so we have potential to go either way if we would like. And we'll draw one final card. Okay, this one's also in Jerusalem. So we have a lot of options for next turn. Let's see what everyone else does. And we're back. Green played their first New Testament card in Jerusalem. Jesus rises from the dead. And then red also played a New Testament card in Joppa and then moved down. So fortunately, they didn't get 3 New Testament cards. So we're going to get the opportunity to play our 3rd New Testament card. So we're going to move to Joppa. Palale, Tabitha comes back to life in Joppa. So that's 4 points. And then we have 2 more turns. And we can't really get to the Jordan River or to Jerusalem or the Sea of Galilee in 2 turns. And unless we draw a Joppa card, which is probably impossible since already 2 Joppa cards were played, let's go ahead and hope for a symbol card, which will give us some more points hopefully. Not so lucky there. And all right. So we did get a miracle card, so that could be helpful. And that's the end of our turn. And so everyone else gets to finish out the round, and then we'll count up points to determine who the winner is. All right, so both the green and the red player were able to play one more New Testament card. And we are in the back of the pack, but we'll see how it turns out once we add in our bonuses. So first, we're going to do our region bonus, which means you get 10 points for each set of each region set, which is one of each of the 5 colors. So we have 2 blue, 2 purple, 2 green, 2 yellow, 2 brown. So we actually didn't even need that region card that we picked up, I don't think. No. So that didn't actually really help us that much. But we did get, we didn't have enough to get 3 region sets, but we have 2, so that's 20 points. So 62, 72, 82, we are in the lead, yay! But they, other players are also going to get some bonus points as well. Let's see, we have the green player, they had no region cards, so they are actually not going to get any regional points because they do not have any purple and they do not have any green. So that's going to set them back a little bit, but they were already pretty far ahead, so they did well in other areas. And then our red player has, see if they have any region cards. they have one region card, and they needed it because they didn't have any green. So they were able to use their region card, so they get one regional set, so they get 10 points, so they have 75. So it's pretty close after calculating in regional bonuses, so it looks like it will come down to the symbols. So let's start with ancient symbols. There is, let's see, how many did we get? Probably not going to win this one. We have 1, 2, 3. Green has 1, 2, 3, 4, and red has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So red gets 7 points. All right, so red is tied with us after the first symbol is calculated. Now let's move on to royalty. We have 1, 2. We only have 2 of those. Looks like green has a lot of royalty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like green won royalty because red doesn't have nearly enough to compete. So 87, green is now at. Now we're on to God Speaks. Hopefully we can win at least one. I think we'll win the battle symbol, but I'm not sure if we'll win any others. God Speaks. We do not have any of those, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 for the green player, and then red has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So red pulled away with that one with 89 points. So we are getting a little bit behind here. Miracles. We have one. We just have one. Oh, we have 2. And I can't remember. Did we pick up? Oh, yes. So we have 3 of miracles. And this card, you get a point for every miracle symbol you have, including the card itself. So we'll just go ahead and give ourselves 3 points for this card. And then we'll see if we end up winning the symbol as well. 1, 2, 3 for green. And then, see, this one has 1, 2, 3. So we all move ahead 7, because if it's a tie, then it's everyone gets the points. If it's a tie, everyone that tied. So we could technically all just not move, but just so we all end up with a little higher score, go ahead and move everybody forward 7 points. All right, wow, it's really close. Now it's coming down to battles. And we do have battle card. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 battle symbols. Let's see if anyone else does better than that. As I suspected, red was the only one with even another battle symbol. They only had 1. So we easily get 7 points for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Plus, we get 4 points for having the battle symbol. So you get a point for each symbol that you have of that. So now it comes down to the last symbol, the mountains. Looks like we are either going to win or we could end up tying with red if they happen to win mountains. We have 1, 2 mountains. Green has 1 mountain, and it looks like red has 1, 2. See, I can't remember. Oh, I forgot to give the red. They should have gotten some points for their ancient symbols and their God Speaks symbol. So they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points for having the ancient symbol, and then the God Speak symbol, they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. That was an amazing card. We probably should have taken that card when we had the chance, just to keep it from them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So unfortunately, red gets 7 points. We also get 7 points, but if we could have won that, we would have won the game. Green was looking good early on, but in the end, they just didn't have the symbols to pull it through. So that's a playthrough of Portals and Prophets with 3 players. Hope you enjoyed it.